The Coastal Bend is a diverse community. It's our stories that bring us together. From KRIS 6 News, this is Every Story Matters.
Welcome to Every Story Matters. I'm Corderro, McMurry, and I'm 29 years old, born and raised in Phoenix, Arizona. And I've lived in the Coastal Bend for about a year. We're here to share your stories and what makes the Coastal Bend home.
With a population of over 579,000 across 12 counties, there are so many faces, so many untold stories here in the Coastal Bend.
And as our Katia Uriarte shows us, while we can focus on what makes us different, we can also think about what brings us together.
We may not all look the same, but we all have similarities.
We used to love each other. Yeah. God brought us all here together. It don't matter what color, no nothing. We have the same color of blood. That's what matters.
Everybody coming together. I don't think we need to be by ourselves. I think we need to be all one.
Diversity is a pure melting pot. Anything and everything for everyone. And I think it's getting better.
Overall, we want to feel like we belong, whether it's by our community, by someone you know, someone you love, or a stranger.
You should be open to being with friends of different religious backgrounds, different ethnic backgrounds, people of different skin complexion. You know, it's just the amount of melanin in your body. We're all the same. We're flesh and blood.
But what makes the Coastal Bend home? Thank you. What brings us together as one?
And I just feel like we're all good in our own ways. I don't think anyone should be in competition with each other. So rather than showing hate, we should show love. Yeah.
And community is what makes the Coastal Bend great. While different in many ways, we're more alike. This is the first in a series of special reports to highlight what brings us together as Americans, Texans, on equal footing. What makes us great, what unites us as people. These are the faces of the Coastal Bend. These are our people. It's you. It's me. It's us. For Every Story Matters, I'm Katia Uriarte.
We're here at Solomon Cole High School, a place filled with so much history right here in Corpus Christi. Solomon Coles is a former slave who moved to Corpus Christi to start the first school for African American children so they too would get an education. And he started that school in a broom closet. So we shared one small piece of history with you. But what makes the Black community here in the Coastal Bend? We'll take a look right after this.
You're watching Every Story Matters from KRIS 6 News.
Here I stand in the 21st century mourning another Black man's murder. When will we no longer have to grieve? I can't breathe. I can't breathe is our new modern day lynching. I look to the Constitution so that I can know my rights, only to find that it was written for whites. I thought Martin Luther King marched and Malcolm fought for us to live equally in the land of the free. So then why are Black people still dealing with the reformed idea of slavery? We will no longer be your brand ambassadors for our people's murders. I didn't even have to make a new shirt that said I can't breathe. I just pulled it out the drawer from when you murdered my last brother. All right. So today I will not shout I can't breathe anymore. I will shout I can breathe, Mr. Officer.
The Black Lives Matter movement has been around since 2013, following the death of Trayvon Martin in February of 2012. But it was a year ago this month when the BLM movement really picked up, following the death of George Floyd, a Texas native who died in police custody in Minneapolis. Since then, people have rallied across the nation, pushing for change, including right here in the Coastal Bend.
So a year later, where are we now? I sat down with local activists to talk about how important Black Lives Matter is and if anything has changed from a year ago.
Black Lives Matter!
What do we want? Justice! When do we want it?
Why did we have these different marches, these different protests a year ago?
I think because we're in an internet age. I think these have been occurring, since African Americans have been enslaved in this country. But now we're in the age of technology, and there's a lot more people with cell phones. There's a lot more people who are engaged in video recording events, and they're tuned in. And I think coupled with the fact that we were in a pandemic and everything was shut down, so there was no distractions. So people could tune in because it was something to watch.
And really, it's been happening. I mean, you can go all the way back to, Rodney King, where that was videotaped, and we got to see a little bit of that. I've talked to several different people who have different triggers or different, like they can literally pinpoint one person and say, it was Ahmaud Arbery. That murder changed my life. It was Trayvon Martin. That murder changed my life. It was Sandra Bland. That conspiracy murder changed my life. For me, it was George Floyd. That murder changed my life forever.
Mm-hmm. What we're talking about is the systematic killing of Black people by law enforcement.
Yes.
Okay, that's a whole separate category, because if you understand the history of policing in this country, it started with slave patrols.
Yes.
And if people do the actual learn about the actual history and do the work on how policing developed in this system, it was systematic racism from the get-go.
What is Black Lives Matter?
I mean, for me, Black Lives Matter is just letting people know that, we exist also, that we are not less than, that we are equal to a white person, that we're equal to an Indian person, we're equal to an Asian person. It's Black Lives Matter means that you cannot just, kill us frivolously in the street and then go on about your business, which is what has been happening. We have been seen less than animals, So Black Lives Matter means that we're just trying to include ourselves in the rest of the world as being equal to or as good as and not less than. We just want social inclusion.
Well, for me, Black Lives Matter is a mantra that's become a movement. Personally, it may mean different things to different people, but in the big scheme of things, it's definitely about acknowledging that Black lives should matter in this country and we're not second-class citizens, and we should not be treated as such.
Such a great conversation and so little time to fit it all in. If you'd like to watch the full interview, just visit our website at kristv.com/community. And if you'd like to watch the full poem we shared, we have that there too. So what laws are being proposed to raise awareness of these issues, specifically here in Texas? Senate Bill 68 would require officers to intervene if another officer is using excessive force. Multiple bills have also been filed to restrict the use of force that prevents normal breathing or blood circulation, like applying pressure to someone's throat or neck, or by blocking a person's nose or mouth. That includes Senate Bill 1600, House Bill 831, and Senate Bill 69.
I don't want to see a repeat of what happened to my cousin happen to anyone here in Corpus.
Some of the people pushing for change include folks right here in the Coastal Bend. Louisville police shot and killed Breonna Taylor back in March of 2020. Breonna has ties to the Coastal Bend. Her cousin Kamala Wells lives in Corpus Christi and is working to get laws passed to prevent what happened to Breonna from happening here. Breonna's law is a no-knock ban, adopted in June of 2020 by Louisville, Kentucky, among other states like Florida, Oregon, and Virginia. In Texas, at least 4 bills have been filed in the legislature, 2 in the House and 1 in the Senate to prohibit no-knock warrants. A 4th bill would initiate a study of the practice by law enforcement agencies. We reached out to Wells on how things have been progressing on laws in Corpus Christi, but have not heard back. A sophomore at West Oso High School is taking dual credit courses, is a member of 14 different clubs, and plays basketball and tennis, all while maintaining his spot at the top of the class. On this series of Coastal Bend Black Excellence, I introduce to you Deshaun Simmons.
President in sophomore class, president in TOKC, which is Triumph Over Kid Cancer, president of BPA, Business Professionals of America, Spanish club president, and then our debate team.
Those are just a few clubs Deshaun Simmons spends his time in. He says he takes part in 14 extracurricular activities, takes college courses along with his regular high school work, and volunteers at Church Unlimited. But that's just the beginning of his high school resume.
And being the captain of the tennis team, playing basketball, being captain of the basketball team, and holding presidency over 5 different clubs here at school.
And out of the 14 clubs, Simmons says the one he really enjoys the most is BPA, where he serves as president over the Coastal Bend,
which is Business Professionals of America. We discuss different types of things as far as how the club's going to go around the high school, and then we speak on business terms, business meetings. It's all with the intent to educate yourself on how the business world works. I feel like I get to not only learn so much more about the business industry, but it's helped me focus on what actually I want to be when I get older.
Simmons says his busiest days are Mondays as he begins his day at 6:45 a.m., but he has some help getting out the door.
I struggle with time management a lot, actually. That's probably my weakest link within myself, but my mom really helps me schedule things. She helps me make sure that I have enough time to do my homework as well as enough time to plan different things.
Deshaun, he is a go-getter. He's an overachiever. He does so much, and he's really hard on himself. And I always tell him, slow down, enjoy life. I mean, he does so much. He's always on the go, which means I'm always on the go. But him achieving everything and him being, as long as he's happy, if he likes it, I love it.
So what does Simmons do in his free time?
I usually don't have a lot of free time, but when I do, I like to hang out with my friends, whether that's playing tennis, I like to go shopping. I see myself as very adventurous, so I like to go try new things.
And what does Black excellence mean to him?
Black excellence means to me proving the stereotype wrong. I feel like a lot of times we're looked down upon because of our skin color, but the promotion of Black excellence is just showing that just because I'm Black doesn't mean that I can't achieve the same things as you.
And Simmons says being the first tennis athlete to win Collier Times Athlete of the Week in fall of 2020 meant everything to him.
You don't see a lot of Black people playing tennis around here in Corpus Christi, so it was exciting for me, but it was more to show my teammates, we can do it too.
Deshaun is heading into his junior year in high school, getting ready to apply for college. His top 2 schools are Harvard and Stanford, where he wants to study to become a lawyer. If you like that story, be sure to check out all of our Coastal Bend Black Excellence pieces at kristv.com/Black Excellence. These stories air Thursdays at KRIS 6 Sunrise, so be sure to wake up early with us. You can also visit that site to nominate someone you think we should highlight, or connect with someone on social media and let me know about someone you think I should speak to. We're inside the Texas State Museum of Asian Culture and Education Center. Not a lot of people know about this piece of history. This place has been around since the 60s. It was started by Miss Billy Chandler, a Texas educator and a native of Corpus Christi. Miss Chandler's collection is still here as a way to bridge that connection between Texas and Asia. It's a great place to visit to learn more about the Asian culture, which our Greg Chandler will show us later. But what do we really know about the Asian and Pacific Islander community here in the Coastal Bend? Be sure to stick around and find out after this.
You're watching Every Story Matters from KRIS 6 News.
I am not a virus. And when you say things like that, it hurts the Asian American community.
One community facing fear and backlash since the start of COVID-19 pandemic in March 2020 is the Asian community. There have been several reported hate crimes across the country.
So how is the community responding?
Texas A&M Corpus Christi addressed some of those issues during Asian American and Pacific Islander Heritage Month.
Our Patrick Johnstone shares a few stories from the Islander community.
They came up to me and was like, hey, where's your green card?
4 panelists shared their experiences of being Asian or Pacific Islander across the United States, like Associate Professor of Art Letitia Bayuho, who grew up in a small town in the Midwest.
In my small town, I was very aware of my physical difference.
A child of mixed race, Bayuho has a white mother and a Filipino father.
But I remember one moment, my mom had myself and my brothers in a shopping cart, going around a grocery store, and people would come up to her and oh, they're so cute, where'd you get them?
She said identity is something she has thought about since she was young.
I take pause every time I come to those boxes that you're supposed to check. To this day, at 45 years old, I still pause. Which box to check? What am I today?
One topic that was touched on was the increase in violence towards Asian Americans across the country recently.
I just feel really sad about it because people just don't understand the Asians are just being scapegoat for the virus.
Newman Wong grew up in Hong Kong and moved to the States when he was in high school. He said being Asian wasn't something he thought about until he moved here.
If you go to Asia, most people would identify themselves by nationality. So this is a new concept to me when I first came.
The panel started a dialogue for people to share their experiences and think about what other people have to deal with.
There are other people in the room who might not ever think that this is something that crosses my mind.
I think we should just keep educating as we learn from the panel, and we should actually learn about others instead of just assuming things.
While the panelists have spent varying amounts of time in South Texas, they said TMUCC and the Coastal Bend community have made them feel welcome.
I think it's because there is a wider diversity of population here, and I think the idea of being from someplace else isn't as big of a dialogue.
So I'm glad that we have a diverse environment and a welcoming environment.
It's pretty welcoming to the Asian community here. Of the hospitality of the South, right? I think a lot of Asian in the Coastal Bend feel really welcome.
Reporting for Every Story Matters, I'm Patrick Johnstone.
It's not just the mascot, but it's the other things that go along with it.
Just recently, the Island University faced some backlash regarding their mascot, Izzy the Islander. Some say the mascot is culturally offensive. The university tells us they're getting feedback from students and the Office of Hawaiian Affairs to search for possible changes for the mascot. Faith and trust. The community at St. Peter Catholic Church in Rockport has stayed strong as they await the reconstruction of their new building. Our Victoria Valderrama shares their story.
On this road, you are likely to pass by this warehouse, but what's going on inside would surprise you. The morning service at St. Peter Catholic Church in Rockport looks like this. Only you would never know what this community has been through since Hurricane Harvey.
The church completely destroyed. Everything collapsed.
Diocese of Corpus Christi Bishop Michael Mulvey recalls a scene after Hurricane Harvey hit these small communities.
Because the force of nature, of course, took out the walls, and the thing that in all the buildings that I saw throughout the diocese, the one thing that struck me was the insulation that we have behind our walls is just torn apart.
As a Vietnamese-based congregation, Father Tran says some members at St. Peter Catholic Parish have lived through other storms in their life.
The older ones, they migrated multiple times, even when they were in their old native country, from the North Vietnam, of Vietnam to the South.
The 2019 United States Census Bureau shows the Asian population in Rockport is 2.2%. The church, however, welcomes all to attend. Eugenia Kowalik has been part of this parish since its establishment in 1983.
We need to bond as a community. I don't care if you're pink, black, yellow, green, or Irish.
One thing this community at St. Peter Catholic Parish is missing is a new building. Since July 2019, services have been held in what was once used as a gymnasium, says Father Tran.
That's why many people here, they expect to have the new church.
A community adapting and coping. The Diocese of Corpus Christi has helped.
It's been a long process, but again, we had to do the mitigation, then we had to do insurance, and then we had to tear the building down. And
more progress has been made now with Bishop Mulvey's signature of approval. This is exciting news at St. Peter's Parish.
Everybody is so happy when we see the new church built up.
If things go according to plan, the new church will be ready by September of 2022. If you would like to learn more about the plans for the new St. Peter Catholic Church, visit KRISTV.com. For Every Story Matters, I'm Victoria Valderrama.
Leaders of the Texas State Museum of Asian Cultures and Education Center say their mission is to educate the Corpus Christi community through the power of art and history. Our Greg Chandler shows us how they're working to bridge the gap when it comes to the understanding of other cultures.
This is the only Coastal Bend museum which focuses on Asian culture. The Texas State Museum of Asian Cultures was started by a Corpus Christi woman who a lifetime ago found Japanese art so fascinating she wanted to bring it back and share it with the community. At a time when members of the AAPI community are targeted nationwide, the museum's mission to educate continues.
I feel like history does repeat itself. You need to educate people to make sure they don't make the same mistakes.
Mistakes which have only gained traction during the pandemic.
I haven't really heard much xenophobia here in Corpus, but I do have family in Houston. and I have family in Taiwan, and they're telling me to kind of keep my head down.
Andelson is a member of the museum's board of trustees. She's half Chinese, and while she hasn't experienced racism in the Coastal Bend, she knows it's a reality in larger cities.
There's always that level of tenseness that we're carrying.
The nonprofit Stop AAPI Hate says it received 63 reports of anti-Asian hate incidents in Texas from March to July of 2020.
A great philosopher said you can't hate what you know. It is possible to do so, but it is so much more difficult.
But Richard Hafmeister says hate should be met with history. The museum's sharing of culture goes back to the 1960s and a woman named Billy Chandler.
Because she wanted to start a museum to show the children in the Coastal Bend about the cultures and the arts across the world.
They're really dancers. I danced too with them, a lot.
Chandler was a white woman who took time to understand other cultures.
I feel like if people just understood more, they'd feel more comfortable. Because I don't like change. If I don't know something, it makes me nervous, and I'm pretty sure it happens to everybody.
A legacy the museum still honors today.
Giving people that chance to know and understand these communities and these art pieces and these histories really helps bridge that gap and reduce that hate and that anger.
And if you're interested in stopping by or just want to learn more about some of the upcoming events, look for this story on our website, kristv.com. For Every Story Matters, I'm Greg Chandler.
So many stories and so much history. That's why we're here to share it. We'll be right back after we hear a special message from some familiar faces. Don't go anywhere.
Today we've heard a few stories from the Black and Asian Pacific Islander community, which we know is just a fragment of what makes up the Coastal Bend. That's why we're making it our mission to tell your story. Is there a community you would like to see in our next special? Send your suggestions to kristv.com/community.
Before we go, we'd like to leave you with a special poem read by our KRIS 6 family members. A reminder that despite our differences, we still stand together as one, because the Coastal Bend is our community and our home.
Maybe it's the birds, the waves, the lights, the colors.
Take it all in, but also take a moment and tell me what you really see.
Look at the faces, the laughter, the tears.
So many stories that keep us grounded here.
Individually, we are great.
But together, we are far beyond that.
We are hope. We are strength.
We are resilience. We are advocates for change.
We create music and art. We help our neighbors, our friends.
The Coastal Bend is more than a place. It's our home. It's where generations of families have raised their children.
It's where newcomers see the beauty. It's where history has been made.
It's where we lean on each other, because it's not just me,
it's you.
It's us. This is the Coastal Bend.
Our community,
our home.